I'm known as Off-Grid Dude on Roblox. I founded this small company called Audioscape. We are all about creating tools for developers on Roblox like you who care about audio, and we're trying to make it a lot easier. I'm trained as a composer, and at Audioscape, I play the role as the product manager. Who is this talk for? It's for any Roblox developer who is already familiar with programming, at least in terms of playing sound in their experience. This talk isn't going to go into audio programming, though we can totally do a subsequent presentation on that. If people are interested, let us know. We're really just about talking about how to choose sounds to create that world for your game. And if you can, wear some headphones today. We're going to listen carefully to the sound, lots of layers of sounds and examples. So, try to listen all you can. And I want to thank the two folks from Audioscape who helped me with this presentation, Ambient, Sorcery, and Saba Meal. You'll see them. They're on our Discord. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you links to our Discord and other places you can get in touch with us and talk about your questions about audio if we don't address them here at this presentation. All right, with that, let's get going. I'm going to try to get this all done in 30 minutes and try to get through these slides quickly and so we can answer your questions. So thanks. The first is just not thinking about audio from the beginning. A lot of the developers we've spoken to say that they spend all their time on their game on their map and graphics and gameplay, and sound is something they literally do in the last couple days before they launch. And we'd love to convince you otherwise. And the reason is that audio is such a key element of all games. You know, if you think of the greatest games you've played, they all have these iconic sound environments that are instantly recognizable. Environmental sounds, UI, voiceover tracks, cool 3D sound processing, and really carefully selected music that sets the emotional tone of every scene in the game and, in fact, during gameplay. Technically, all of this is possible on Roblox. You can do all this. It takes a lot of work. But first, I want to start with just some examples of iconic game sound and just see if you can guess what these are. I'm going to play these, and maybe in the chat window, you can guess what tracks they are. Here we are. So today I want to talk about how to think about audio for your game, how to find that audio, and how to use it in your game. And at the end, we'll answer questions. So let's talk about the second biggest mistake in Roblox audio, and that's no ambient or environmental sounds. This is just a demo map that we put together with just the default sound. Here it is. So obviously there's a lot missing from that example. There's just footsteps. And this may sound obvious to everyone, but ambient and environmental sounds, they make this virtual world you've spent all this time creating, they make you believe that it is a real place. And you can do this with really not a lot of work, like just some careful selection of maybe one or two environmental sounds. And like, here's an example. We're just putting one environmental sound into this example. And just alone there, you can just feel, for example, you can feel air. You can feel like you're outside. You hear a little bit of birds because it's hard to find a place in the world where there are no birds. And that just feeling of being outside, I think, is transformative. It's just one sound, and you can loop it in this case. If you want to take steps further, I think you need to think about defining your game's world. Like, think where it's set. Like in this case, it's a castle, but is it a space station, a city? Is think about each part of your map. Like, are they indoors or outdoors? And then what are the sounds of that? And, there's just a whole gamut of what those possibilities can be. But the environmental sounds should reflect, that place where you're trying to recreate, helping your players feel like it's there and helping them believe that they're in a real world. And then kind of the second layer of that is, if the environment changes, so should the sounds. I'm going to play that first example again with a few improvements, and listen carefully for what those are, and we'll talk about them. Okay, so let's go back. The first thing you hear is a couple more layers of animal sounds. You hear that, you hear a bird, you hear a dog barking, and then most important, you hear the river where the player is. There's that river there. And again, this may sound incredibly basic, but each of those extra layers of just subtle sound, I think, convince your player that that place is real. And then let me just skip forward to when he walks into the castle. Do you hear how all the sounds of the river and the animals get muted? And that would make sense, right? You're walking behind these stone walls of the castle, and of course those sounds behind you would go away. And maybe there are other sounds that should be happening in the courtyard of the castle, and you could add those. But the point is that the sounds change when you changed areas of the map. All right, let's look at some classic Roblox games and what they do with sound. So here's a classic game you probably know. And this is the real sound that you're hearing. There's just nothing here other than these cars. Now, what they've done well is that the cars are using 3D audio, so they do really go from right to left as they pass you by. But let's try that same scene with just some ambience added. All this is just an ambient sound added to it, and I really think that completely changes the realism. It really feels like you're sitting on a sidewalk on a street. All right, so how do we go and find these sounds? So let's go and look a couple different ways. So let's start with just going to Roblox, and here you go to the Creator Hub, you go to Store, and you select Audio. And then you type in some things. So let's type in some words. Let's try outdoor. Let's see what that gets us. All right, so here's outdoor ambience. Okay, in the case of that street scene that we just replaced, I don't think this works because this sounds more like someone's backyard. And there's just there's no sounds of a road. Let's try something else. I mean, some of these are obvious they're not going to work. Payday assault rifle. No, honestly, these aren't great. So let's try adding something. Let's go outdoor city. See what that does. All right, so we got San Francisco. Okay. I mean, that's got that sound of outdoor air going with it. It has honking. So if you think about that last scene where there weren't really any cars other than the two that drive by, maybe the traffic doesn't work. Let's try another one. I mean, again, that could totally work quietly. I think my issue with it sounds kind of like the echoes of a city with lots of tall buildings. And again, that scene, you were standing on this sidewalk and there weren't any tall buildings around you. So I don't know if that's totally believable, but you could try it in game. Now, another way to search for sounds is a tool that we made at Audioscape called the Discovery Tool. And you go to it by going to portal.audioscape.ai. And you can log in just with your Roblox auth, And you can search the entire Roblox audio catalog just in a different way than the Creator Store. And so let's go try doing that here. Let's look for city, nature, environmental. And then I'm going to click. And there are lots of ways. You could just type text into this text field if you want, and I'll show you that. We've also come up with this browsing mode where you choose categories. So in this case, I'm going to do nature and environmental. I'm going to choose ambience. And I'm going to see what comes up. Okay, we got accident scene. All right. Okay. Active water lap. All right, maybe I'm going to add a word here. I'm going to type city along with ambience. All right, so let's hear what city ambience sounds like. No, that is just not a street scene. Let's try this one. Nope. Let's try city day ambience. Okay. But there's for that scene, there's these kids around, and so that doesn't quite sounds right. So let's try city street. Sometimes when it doesn't find an answer, it'll give you this option to click on. So I'll click on that. It's going to look for both city and street in this case, or city or street. All right, let's try more of the city ambience. Oh. Okay. That one is not bad. That could work. That sounds like traffic sounds or kind of distant traffic sounds, which could work. All right, I'm just going to click and add this to a playlist. And great, so I can click and add that to a playlist. And by the way, I'll publish these playlists at the end of the presentation. Let's look at some other examples of ambient sounds. And in this case, we're going to talk about layers. Layers are super important in that past example that you just saw. We started with the general outdoor ambient sound outside the castle, then we added the river, and then we added the animal sounds. And all of those add up to a really nice environment. Let's try this example. And you know this game. And this is real recorded audio from the game. And, for folks who haven't played this game, this is a game where there is a tsunami. This is this wave coming at the building. And it's now going to hit the building. The building's going to start to fall down. And we're going to run for cover. By the way, thanks to Sava, this is him playing the game, not me. And he dies. All right. So let's try that with layered ambient sounds on top of it. So these are sounds that we've added on top of this scene to make it sound more realistic. And we'll talk about all those layers. So you can see he's slowly increasing the volume of this, the impending doom here. All right. Thank you, Sava. I think that was a lot more dramatic. And let's talk a little bit about what's happening in that scene. This is a timeline of the sounds that we're using in this example. And let's walk through. So like the first example, there's just this general atmosphere sound that he starts with. And you don't hear that much because I've edited it to this part of the scene right here. And the first thing that you'll probably notice is just the alarm sound. When it says tsunami warning, it plays this alarm sound. And then he adds an additional tsunami wave sound, just an ocean sound on top, just to make that, to give you that impending doom feeling that something's, it's not like disaster isn't quite there yet, but there's something bad coming. So that starts here. And then as this plays out, he's looped this file. and he makes it louder and louder. The closer the wave gets, the louder it gets. And here, let's just jump to that. So here's that warning sign going on. That's the alarm. But if I go forward, listen to how, as the wave is coming closer, he's bringing up the volume of that looped wave sound. And I think it sounds pretty terrifying. And okay, now it's going to hit. Let's just pause there for a sec. So when it hits, he's got an impact sound, a wave crashing sound. But then he's added all of these sounds of the crumbling building. So, in this case, he's using avalanche sounds. I think this is where you want to be not so literal in your searching. You want to think about I want the sound of a crumbling building. Well, an avalanche and a crumbling building actually sound similar. So he found a couple of those. And then the other thing he added was a bunch of crashing bottles, which here, let me just play it. And I think you can hear that. There we are. Okay. And by the way, we're going to share a playlist of all of those at the end of the presentation. I'll put it in the notes for the creator event. So the last mistake is no music. Like I said in the beginning, music really sets the emotional tone of your game. So let's just play an example of a classic Roblox game, and then I'm going to play it with two different kinds of music. So in those two examples, I think they're interesting, and they bring up a lot of points. But the second example that we did that's a chiptune, and it made the game feel a lot more kind of ironic and silly. And then the second sequence, which is using an ambient music engine that Ambient Sorcery, or Jenny on our team, created, that gave the game a dreamlike quality to it. I hope that really short example gave you a sense of how different music can make a game feel, but I think it's something you should think about carefully, because I think it can immediately transport your player to have a certain feeling about your game. And I think that's super important. So what do you want to think about? You want to think about how you want your players to feel. Do you want them scared, feeling playful, peaceful, like in those examples? And then this is really, for me, the hardest part, which is what kind of music makes you feel that way? And what genre is that music? And I think the biggest thing to remember is that everybody has a different reaction to music. It depends on what music you grew up listening to, what video games you grew up playing, where you grew up in the world. All those things matter. So that's a good thing for you to test about the effect of music on your players and get feedback about it. And I think the hardest thing is also finding the genre of the music. It's hard for you to just describe the genre. You're oh, I don't know what that, is called that has an orchestra and a guitar in it. I don't know how to describe that. Well, maybe you could find a game that has music like that you like, that you think would give your game the right feel, and you can look up the genre of the music in that game. Let me play you examples of that castle map that we did with 3 different kinds of music, just to show you the differences. So here's the first one. All right, so that's a pretty incredibly chill, I don't feel anything bad is going to happen to this player. This is just a pretty nice day in his life. Well, let's try next example. All right, so this more orchestral music makes me think this dude's going on an adventure. He's got a purpose, And, he's going into this castle to, get into a fight or join his buddies to go on a mission. Let's try this one. And that example is just totally different. Putting some funk music with this old castle it's a bold move, definitely. But, maybe that's your intention. Maybe there is something really, off kilter about your world that you want to set the stage with that. And that's cool too. I just wanted to show how 3 different examples make a scene so different. All right, so let's talk about finding music. And so let's talk about the Creator Store. Let's go give that a shot. Here's the Creator Store. Let's go back to audio. They've got a new music button. You can look at DistroKid. You can choose some genres. It's hard to find, like if we wanted to find like an orchestral, maybe we choose classical. Okay, if I'm going for adventure, that's like, this is more of a love story. Let's do classical music adventure. Let's see what that does. Me? I don't know. Yeah, okay, let me switch over to the portal and let's try that again. Knowing the genre of your music is super tricky. So I'm gonna click music here. And that's going to bring up like and by the way, these search and filter options, you just have to click on this to open them up. We have a feature in here, which is like searching by a game. And so, we've put like 10 or 12 games in here, and then we've pre-programmed the style of music that those games have just as a way for you to start. So like, I think this Legend of Zelda option gives us that kind of like historic music that we like. Oh, sorry. No. Let's try this out. Nope. All right. I think this is music that might, be from Zelda, but it's not working for me. So let's try exciting. Or actually, you know what? Let's try Dragon Ball. Sorry. Let's go try Dragon Ball. Let's see what that sounds like. All right. Sorry, I'll turn that down a little bit. All right, okay, well that's that one. Okay, so we're finding some cool stuff here, but that's not quite what we were looking for. But you could tell me if you think that sounds like Dragon Ball Fighter Z music. Let's try a different kind of search. So let me clear this up, and let's look for let's just start with a vibe, an emotion. Let's try chill, and see what we get. I'm just gonna choose one of these randomly. Okay. Let's try chill movie music if we were trying to go for like a calm scene. Well, this is a Christmas music. I don't know. Let's see what that sounds like. It almost sounds like The Simpsons. Let's try Crystal Tower. All right. That might work for our scene with the castle. I can go and add that to our playlist there. By the way, we built this cool feature where you can click on this highlighted thing here. This is the album. So if you click on it, it's going to show you all the other tracks on that album. So that might be a useful way. If you like what's there, you can go play all the tracks on that whole album, and that will help. All right, so there's that, and then there's Manic Magic. All right. Another thing you can do if, here, I'll go back and play the first track. You like that kind of magic sound? There is this more like this button that we have that searches for music that's similar to that track. So it's different than the album. It's actually going to do a whole new search. You'll see it loading down here. And let's see what it comes up. And it's going to try to find tracks that are like that one, have the same attributes. So let's try this, the first one. All right, let's try Big Waves. Wash Away. And by the way, I'm scrolling up here because you've got this cool timeline. You can click and just scan forward in the track and just jump around and play it. You can spend hours, and I think you should spend a lot of time looking for your music, because once you find the right sounds, it can make a huge difference. A couple other things on here. Let's say you're looking for footsteps or something, and we've gone to motion and movement, and you look through all this and you're trying to look for something, and creature's footsteps. So one thing you could do is any of these columns you can open up. If you click on it and you say filter by title, you could just then type in something like, I'll do foot. Or let's try footstep. And it's going to filter them so it only has the word footstep in the title. You can also do that by subcategory as well. Like here, there's walk footsteps. Let's see. Yeah. What other things we got in here? We have cowbell. I don't know how that came out. Let's say bongos, walk drums. I don't know how that came up. All right. Anyway, just so you know, you can filter things. You can do negative searches up here in the text window, and you can filter. Let's review. 3 biggest mistakes in Roblox audio. Think about sound from the beginning. As you're building your world, think about what sound goes in your world and program it in, because I think it's going to help you design a better world for your game. 2, think about using layers of ambient and environmental sounds together to further create that reality. And then carefully choose your music. So I'm gonna take a break and look at the QA section here and answer your questions. But also remember, you can join us on the Discord, and I'm gonna put up our links here. This is a link to the audio discovery tool that I was using to search for music. This is our Discord. And then this is, I think I put up the link to the original dev forum post. And there I'm going to put all the links from today's talk, including the link to the video recording of the talk as well. So great, let's go to your questions. I would love for you to engage with us, like DM me on the developer forum or come join our Discord and ask us. Both Ambient Sorcery and Savamil are on the Discord as well, and they are really the trained sound designers. They're the experts. And they can really answer your questions better than I can. So come and join and ask us, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I'm just going to put the links back up before we wrap, and I'm just going to check to see that there aren't any questions in the Q&A. Yeah, Danger Ranger, I think you're on our Discord, and you're already connected to me, so just feel free to follow up. Just send your notes to us directly, and we'll answer your questions. Well, listen, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you joining. I want to keep talking more about bringing awesome audio into Roblox games. I think as Roblox games level up in quality, audio has to get better, and I want to help you do that. And so we're going to be releasing more tools to help you. We released a free boombox tool that lets you properly use the entire Roblox. You can find it on the links that you've got there. We're making the search tool better every day, and we listen to your feedback. We've added a ton of features based on your feedback, and we're going to continue to release new tools. So do stay in touch with us. Let us know what other things we can present on, and we'll look forward to seeing you out there. And thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. All right, with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks, then.